Pet food isn't just about filling a bowl anymore, is it? I mean, we're looking at a potential $500 billion global economy by 2030.
Exactly. And for brand managers listening, that growth brings both immense opportunity and, frankly, some intense competition. What are the critical shifts we really need to understand right now to actually capitalize?
Okay, let's get straight to it then. This deep dive is laser focused on those forces shaping this huge pet food economy, the big growth areas, the changing role of trust, and the key drivers really pushing things forward.
Right. Our goal today is pretty clear. We want to equip you, the pet food brand managers, with actionable insights, stuff drawn from the latest market dynamics.
Yeah, how to leverage this stuff.
Exactly. Leverage it for competitive advantage, maybe sharper product innovation, better brand growth, and definitely e-commerce success in 2025 and, beyond.
And we've pulled together data from Altech's 2025 Agri-Food Outlook, also Packaged Facts Consumer Research, and some recent pieces from Pet Food Industry and Pet Age, trying to bring you the really critical info.
And the first major theme that just kind of jumped out of all this data, a really significant 4.5% global increase in pet food production just in 2024.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is that this isn't just a small tick up. It's actually the largest increase across all feed sectors studied.
Right.
So, okay, a substantial production increase. Where is this growth really coming from, and what does it sort of signal for brands looking to expand?
Okay, let's dig into that regional breakdown. So while, established markets like Europe and North America saw some growth, about 1.6% and 2.3%.
Which is okay, but not huge.
Right. It's steady. But the real acceleration is definitely happening elsewhere. Latin America posted a pretty solid 2.8% increase.
Right.
But Asia Pacific, that surged by 11%.
Very good percent, yeah.
And there's a staggering figure. Africa saw a 60.3% jump in pet food production. 60%.
That dramatic growth, especially in Africa and Asia Pacific, I mean, that immediately tells you where future volume growth is likely going to be concentrated. So for e-commerce managers listening, this isn't just about, translating your current website.
No.
It's about a real strategic push into these high growth regions. Think localized marketing campaigns, things that truly resonate there, and maybe even tailoring product variations for specific regional needs and tastes.
Okay. And what about for the brand strategists? What's the takeaway there?
Well, this strong growth, especially happening alongside this continued trend towards what we call premiumization.
Right. People wanting better stuff.
Exactly. Opting for higher quality food, maybe with extra perceived benefits.
Yeah.
It means your marketing really needs to double down on highlighting those premium and health-focused aspects. Emphasize the tangible benefits. Is it weight management, better joint health, digestion? You need to build your brand stories around these priorities that consumers clearly have now.
Makes sense. And for the product development folks?
Yeah. Innovation in R&D, particularly around functional ingredients and formulations, that becomes really crucial.
So not just basic kibble.
Not at all. Focus on catering to that premium trend, addressing specific health needs pet owners are much more aware of now, and maybe consider developing distinct product lines specifically for those booming emerging markets. Think about local sourcing, local preferences, and for customer insight managers, your focus probably needs to shift to deep dives in these high growth areas. Understand the nuances, what consumers really need and prefer on the ground, and keep tracking how that demand for premium and health-focused products is evolving. It changes fast.
That absolutely clicks. You could imagine a brand strategically launching a line of premium pet food, maybe using locally sourced, interesting ingredients in Southeast Asia, for example.
Exactly.
They'd be tapping into both that regional growth and the demand for higher quality options. A double win.
Precisely. Now, kind of shifting gears a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not just about the amount of pet food being made. The reasons people are buying what they buy, that's also changing significantly.
That's right. The research from Packaged Facts really puts a spotlight on how U.S. pet owners are sort of redefining value. Even if budgets are tighter, they're not just automatically grabbing the cheapest bag.
Yeah, what's so telling there is that clear prioritization of health and wellness benefits. What's really driving that shift in how consumers think?
Well, their data shows that over 80% of pet owners see pet food as the most important health and wellness product for their pets.
80%. That's huge.
It is. So when people talk about value now, they're really weighing those health benefits heavily. They're actively looking for foods they believe will genuinely support their pet's well-being. It's gone beyond just basic calories.
And this focus on health, it seems to be fueling the growth of less processed options, right? Like fresh food, gently cooked. What's the appeal there?
Yeah, Packaged Facts calls it a health halo around these categories.
Health halo.
Because they often have visible, whole ingredients. Maybe they look more like human food. People perceive them as inherently healthier. It connects with their own focus on wellness.
Right, makes sense.
And freeze-dried and air-dried foods are kind of benefiting from that same perception, closer to natural, less processed.
Yeah.
It's interesting, though. Newer things like insect-based proteins, they show promise, but adoption's still facing some hurdles. Price, maybe, and just getting consumers comfortable with the idea.
Okay, so with this changing definition of value, how should brands be adapting their strategies? What's the play?
Well, you see the super premium brands tackling cost concerns directly, right? They're communicating the cost per day value, showing how nutrient-dense food can be economical.
Breaking it down.
Yeah. And at the same time, value brands are shifting their message too. They're emphasizing overall health benefits, not just competing on the lowest price anymore.
So everyone's talking health.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And this opens up big opportunities for formulations, targeting specific things, skin and coat, joint support, stuff for older pets. It really mirrors the trends we see in human wellness.
Okay, so for e-commerce managers listening, your website, your product pages, they need to scream health and wellness benefits.
Yeah, clearly.
Optimize those descriptions, use great visuals showing ingredients and explaining their purpose. Maybe think about bundles that highlight the overall health value.
Good idea.
And brand managers, it's probably time to reframe your marketing stories. Move beyond just ingredient lists and focus on the positive health outcomes your food delivers. And definitely highlight those less processed formats if you have them.
And for the product innovators, the R&D teams.
Well, product managers should be actively looking at and maybe expanding into those fresh, gently cooked, freeze-dried segments. Keep pushing innovation and formulations that hit those specific health needs and different life stages.
Right.
And customer insight teams, you got to keep your finger on the pulse. How are consumers defining value today? How important are health benefits becoming in their actual purchase decisions? Watch those less processed categories closely. See how they're growing.
Yeah, you can picture it. A brand that just prominently features a short list of high-quality, recognizable ingredients right on the bag on the website, alongside really clear explanations of the health benefits. That speaks directly to what consumers seem to want now, health and value they can understand.
Absolutely. And, you know, this intense focus on health and value, it leads us directly to another critical piece, trust, building that lasting relationship.
You're spot on. Pet parents are getting really discerning, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're actively looking for verifiable proof. They want evidence that brands are actually delivering what they promise.
Yeah, there's definitely a growing unease, kind of a skepticism about opaque manufacturing or where ingredients really come from.
And what's significant, I think, is that this wider decline in consumer trust across lots of industries, it actually creates a unique opportunity for pet brands.
Oh, so?
Well, you can stand out through genuine transparency. What does the data tell us people are specifically looking for?
The numbers are pretty consistent. Somewhere between 60 and 65% of pet owners say they actively look for brands that share details about how the food is made and where the ingredients come from.
So transparency matters.
A lot. And traceability, too. Nearly 2/3 feel more confident, more reassured when they can see where ingredients originate. And crucially, these transparent practices, they aren't just, nice to have.
Right.
They demonstrably influence purchase decisions, and they really strengthen that long-term brand loyalty.
Which brings us to this idea of validation marketing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What are the key pillars of that approach? How does it work?
Well, validation marketing really revolves around a few core ideas. First, having a clear, higher purpose beyond just profit. Second, embracing radical transparency to build trust. Third, getting credible validation. Think of third-party certifications, expert endorsements people respect. Fourth, making sure your brand actually fits with consumers' lifestyles. And fifth, leveraging social proof, positive reviews, testimonials from other happy pet owners.
And the payoff.
Brands that really nail these validation strategies, they're seeing significant jumps in repeat purchases, like 20 to 30% increases.
That's a really tangible business outcome. So what are some concrete steps brands can take to actually build this kind of trust?
Actively going after and then really highlighting independent third-party certifications is huge.
Don't just get the certificate, show it off.
Exactly. Share the stories behind your ingredients, maybe use videos, detailed explanations, clearly outline your quality control steps. It all helps forge those authentic connections and really boosts trust.
Okay, so for e-commerce managers again, make sure those certifications, traceability info, supply chain details are front and center on product pages.
Hmm.
Use visuals, videos, infographics to showcase your quality, your production process.
Yeah, make it easy to find.
And brand managers, transparency needs to be like woven into everything you communicate. Actively seek out those relevant third-party certs and explain why they matter to your audience. Develop content that demystifies your sourcing and quality control. Don't hide it.
And for product development and the insights teams, what's their role here?
Well, product managers really need to prioritize sourcing practices that actually allow for full traceability. You can't be transparent if you don't know where things come from.
Good point.
And they need to work closely with marketing to make sure those quality control measures and certifications are communicated effectively. And customer insight managers, keep listening to those consumer conversations about trust and transparency. Track how your validation efforts are actually impacting brand perception and ultimately loyalty. Are people noticing? Does it matter to them?
Yeah, a great example would be a brand partnering with, say, a well-respected animal welfare group for certification, and then showing videos of their ethical sourcing practices right on their website and social media. That built a really powerful foundation of trust.
Totally agree. All right, so let's try and bring this all together. Thinking about everything we've discussed, the growth, the value shift, the trust factor, and what are the maybe 2 or 3 most critical strategic imperatives for our listeners, the pet food brand managers?
Okay, I think first, the global market clearly presents massive growth opportunities, especially in those fast-growing emerging economies and also in the premium segment everywhere. Brands just need to strategically target these areas. Don't miss out.
Right. Imperative 1, chase the growth smartly.
Exactly. Second, consumers are increasingly defining value through health and wellness for their pets, not just the price tag. So your product formulations and your marketing messages have got to clearly reflect this shift. It's non-negotiable now, it seems.
Imperative 2, center your value proposition on health.
Yep. And finally, in this climate of, let's face it, growing consumer skepticism, building and actively maintaining trust through real transparency and credible validation isn't just, good PR. It's fundamental for long-term success. It's becoming table stakes.
Okay, so let me rephrase those maybe even more actionably. Strategic imperative number 1. Aggressively explore and strategically invest in growth opportunities in emerging markets while also continuing to innovate and cater to that premium health-focused demand in your established markets. Don't neglect either.
Good point.
Strategic imperative number 2. Take a hard look at your brand's core value proposition. Reevaluate it to truly center on demonstrable health and wellness benefits, and then make sure you're communicating those clearly, effectively, everywhere the consumer sees you.
Across all channels.
And strategic imperative number 3. Implement really robust, comprehensive transparency measures all through your supply chain and actively seek out credible third-party validation. Build and constantly reinforce that consumer trust. You have to recognize this as a key way to stand out, a key differentiator, and honestly, a primary driver of loyalty that lasts.
Well said. That brings us to the end of this deep dive into the growth, trust, and the future of the $500 billion pet food economy.
We really hope this is giving you some clear, actionable insights to help guide your strategies as you navigate this pretty dynamic pet food landscape in 2025.
Definitely keep a close watch on those global trends and the ever-shifting demands of pet owners. Things change fast.
They really do. And remember, building brands on that dual foundation of both cutting-edge innovation and unwavering trust, that really is the key to staying ahead of the curve.